Welcome back to the shop. We're ready to start putting the finish on the countertop. The epoxy dried overnight, it's nice and hard, so we'll get that sanded. And then I also have to soften this front edge a little bit the way the customer wants it. And then we can apply our finish after we're done sanding. I'm going to soften this front edge first, and to do that I use a hand plane. And I just start making passes down and just slowly make it rounded, just real soft round. So fastest, easiest way I found to do this, unless you have a really big router bit. But this seems to work pretty good. Not taking very much off, real light passes. Something about the sound of a hand plane. Just kind of satisfying, relaxing. Every shop needs to have at least one hand plane. Got a few. This is the one I use the most. So we've got the bulk of it sanded. I sanded the top to 80 grit. The bottom I sanded yesterday to 80 grit. And today I flipped it over, sanded it to 150 grit. So essentially that is ready for finish. And what I do with these big pieces is I sand the bottom side and get it ready for finish along with all the edges. And then when I flip it over, I'll sand the top, and that'll make sure that I don't have any scratches in the top before I actually put the finish on. Because the bottom is never going to be seen, since it's a countertop or even a tabletop for that matter. It really doesn't take that much priority to make sure that it's perfect. So little imperfections are not a big deal on the bottoms. And you can see my edge there is just slightly rounded, just the way I want it. I'm going to hit that by hand with some sandpaper just to make sure I don't have any swirl marks in that from the sander, because sometimes when you sand around something like that, you'll get some swirl marks in it. So I got one final step that I do before I put finish, especially on big pieces like this. I'll wipe it down with some mineral spirits. And it does a couple things. For one, it shows me where there's any flaws left to sand, which on the bottom side I'm not too concerned about. But and then it also will clean the surface and get a lot of the dust off, so you're not basically finishing that dust right back into your boards. Even with Rubio Monocoat, it still needs to be pretty clean. And vacuuming it does a pretty good job, but I like to go just one more extra step. So I finished this with Rubio. It's actually what I use for everything. This is their pure, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's basically their natural finish. They have a lot of different colors. Good product. But recently, they changed how they package the accelerator because this is a 2-part. It's a 3-to-1, so 3 parts oil to 1 part accelerator. This used to have a little nozzle in it, which was great. You could just dump it out into your measuring scoop. But now you have to dip it out, which basically means you need another scoop. And you can't even get it all out of here without making a mess. So what I do is I dump it in to one of these little glass bottles that I got off Amazon. Seems to work pretty good. So Rubio, if you're watching, this is a bad idea. This would be a better idea, or just simply go back to the way you used to do it. So then you also need a white pad. This is a non-abrasive Scotch-Brite. Basically, this is what they recommend to apply it with. Works really good. And then for big areas, I use the same thing, but it's on a sander. This old sander has definitely been through the ringer. It's all I use it for anymore is Rubio. I don't use it as a sander anymore. Actually, this is the reason why I started using Festool, because if you use this for hours on end, like sometimes I do, basically it'll create tendonitis in your arm, and you won't be able to sand for very long, and your arm will ache the rest of the night, which is not fun. So this almost ended my career as a woodworker. The Festool basically saved. There it is, all finished up. And we'll let this cure overnight. And tomorrow we'll put on the, it's called Sheen Plus to give it a satin look. This is pretty. It's actually surprising me a little bit. It's got a little more character in it than I thought. It's quite striking. Okay, welcome back to the shop. We're ready to put the Sheen Plus on this countertop, and that'll be the last step for this. There it is, all finished. The gloss will dry down just a little bit overnight. Well, look at this very nice satin finish. I hope you enjoyed this episode about how to build a countertop out of wood. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe.